Hello, my name's Clint Moxley. I'm a member of the Wayne County Arts Council. Um, I was asked during this time of quarantine and everything to maybe do a painting, do a how-to paint um, for the Arts Council and for the TV station. So we're going to give it a go. We're in my collectibles room. This is where I paint, where I draw inspiration. Um, I've been a Wayne County resident now for 6 years. I moved here for my job. I work with the public library system. Um, but let's get into what I'm going to do here today. Um, I'm going to do a black and white painting. Um, a scenic scape uh, with some trees and a little bit of lighting and everything. Um, for what I use for these type of paintings, I've done several of them. They're really easy to do. They're fun to do. One of the things you're going to need is what I use is just an old palette. Put my paint on it. You're only really going to need two colors for this. And these are the colors I use. They're cheap. You can get them at Walmart. Apple barrel paints. This is the white, and this is the black. These are the only two colors we're really going to use for this painting. But apart from that, you're going to need some paper towel, napkin, and then what I like to use to paint with a lot for this particular painting is a fan brush. I got this one, I think, at Michael's. This is just a number 6 fan brush. Also, you're going to need kind of a bigger brush. This was just a really cheap one that was in a set at Walmart. You can get some of those sets at Walmart for, $5-10, and you get a bunch of different brush types, bunch of different bristle types. Apart from that, some of the other brushes I'm going to use here are just a really thin brush. This one is a number 2 brush. Then I've got a number 10 round brush. Now some of these brushes I may use, some of them I may not, just depending on how the painting goes. First thing you want to do, you can buy these. This is just a 16 by 20 canvas. I bought this one. It was white. It came in a 2-pack from, I think it was Michael's. You can just get a 2-pack like this. Michael's, Hobby Lobby. This one's Artist Loft, so I think this was actually Hobby Lobby. Anyway, what you're going to do for this, now you can buy these pre-blackened. In other words, the canvas, instead of using a white gesso to cover it, they've used a black gesso. Now this one was white. What I've done, all I have done is taken the apple barrel paint. I put it in an old cup like this. I watered it down just a little bit, and then I just covered the whole canvas. And that's the key to this, is you're going to cover the whole canvas in black. You'll see how that goes in a minute. So let's kind of just get stuck in here with this painting. Like I say, it's really easy to do. I'm going to take my palette, some of the white paint. I'm going to just put a little bit on the palette there. Not a whole lot. See here? Not a whole lot. Now you're just going to kind of ball this paper towel, napkin, whatever it is, up. And this is where you're going to create your lighting. Okay? What we're going to end up with is kind of a forest. And way back in the center, you can see the light coming through. Now, like I say, this is just a black and white painting. I've been asked if you could do it in colors before. I'm not sure. I'm sure it would be the same principle. But let me show you how to do this. Okay? You just kind of dap the paint like this. You just put some on the end here. Then you're going to kind of figure where you're going to go. And let's just say the center of our light is going to be right there. So you kind of dap around, reload it, dap some more. and then just kind of work out from there. You're just kind of, the biggest thing is the color in this, or this right here. This is your primary light source. This is where the sun, the moon, whatever it is shining through all this forest. And what you're doing by doing this lightly in the other areas, and you'll see in a little bit as we go along with this painting, is you're creating the illusion that light is hitting trees and foliage and all in here, but this right here is open. So again, we're kind of really putting it heavy right here, and then, you know, just kind of work it out. Give it almost like a marbled effect. Okay? You want to give it kind of a marbly effect. You don't want it heavy. I mean, you can put some heavy spots here and there because, you know, it's a forest, it's shining through. And, oh, something I forgot to mention. These are acrylics. They dry really fast. If you're using oil, it'll take longer to dry, and if you start doing something like this and then start painting over it, it may be that it blends, and so you may lose some of this effect. Okay, just putting that out there. These are acrylics. They dry fairly quickly. Again, you know, I'm just kind of really putting the heavy here, and we're just very, very lightly dabbing out here. Now, you don't want to bring it all down in here, and you'll see why in a little bit as we go along. Because what you're going to do, and that's kind of that, I'm kind of happy with this right here, so we're going to leave it like that. Now what we're going to do is, this is going to take just a few minutes to dry. And we're going to kind of discuss where I'm going to go next with this. Like I was saying, you need kind of a bigger brush head. And what you're going to see is, as I move along, here's another one. Here's a 19mm brush. What I'm going to do is, right here, we're going to start putting in trees. All we're going to do is put in black, and what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to start black where your light source is. And what that does is it gives the illusion again that the light is coming from the other side of the canvas, and it's hitting the trees, and all you can see is the black, the back of the tree. So from your perspective looking into the painting, all you see is the shadow of the tree hitting the light. Then as we move out away from the light source, we'll transition into a gray. Now that's where, you know, I said we use two colors. We're going to have to do a little bit of mixing, and how you do your painting is going to depend on what kind of mix you do. You know, you may want a lighter gray. You may want a deeper gray. But what we're going to do, again, is we're moving from here out. So black in the middle, a gray toward the outside, and then on the very extreme, we're doing white. The key is you go from thicker trees in the middle to very small looking trees or shallower trees as you go out. And what that creates is the illusion that the trees are pushed way back in the painting. What you're seeing is the white because the light is hitting it more from the side, and so you're seeing more of the tree. So let's take this, this 25mm brush, or 1 inch. We're going to get it wet with a little bit, and I've got some water here. Because these are acrylics, I just clean them in water. I use the water to soften the brush a little bit. Got an old rag that I've been using for quite some time to help with the dry and all that. Now, I've got some black still left over from when I did the background, or when I covered the canvas. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take and add a little more black just to thicken the paint up a little bit. Okay, then I'm just going to take this plastic putty knife, kind of mix it up a little bit, just to thicken it a little bit, because we don't want it super watery, because if you use paints, if it's super watery, it'll just kind of run, and we don't want that. We want a little bit of control here. So what I'm going to do, actually let's thicken that up just a little bit more. But what I'm going to do is start laying in, like I said, the trees. Now, you can choose where you want to put a tree. You know, this is your painting, as some other people have said in you know, other shows. This is your painting. You figure it out. And trees, think of how trees look in the forest. They're not just straight up and down. They can be leaning, they can maybe curve. So think about that and incorporate that into your painting. Okay? So let's start right here, and we're going to go from the very top kind of down into the black here. And we're going to, you know, move into this bottom part in a little bit. This is all going to create a depth to this painting. All right, so we start with the black, and let's just start right here and come down with that tree and thicken it up kind of towards the bottom there. And yep, there it is. There's a tree. Okay, I don't know how well this is going to come through from the video, but there's a tree. Okay, now we're going to come over here and do the same thing. And again, you know, these are thicker, bigger trees. We're wanting to give that illusion. And if it blends just a little bit, that's fine, because what that also is going to do is give the illusion that that tree has light kind of wrapping around it just a little bit. Like you can just begin to see the detail on this side. Okay? All right. Now let's put just a little bit smaller one, because, you know, maybe there's a small tree that lives here. And there it is. And you know what? Maybe this one has a fork in it. So we're just going to add a fork right there and make it a little bit bigger. Okay, again, this is just building the forest. All right, I think that looks pretty good for the moment. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to take this paint that I still have on my brush, and I'm going to take my palette that I still have some white on. And we're just going to kind of blend this a little bit and see where we get with a gray. Okay. Now again, depending on how gray you want your secondary trees, that's completely up to you. You know, that right there looks pretty good. And we'll even use this same brush, being I've got it kind of. But the trick is not to make them as big. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come here and use kind of the tip of the brush and just come down, and maybe we'll put a little bit of a fork there in it and come all the way down. And you know, if it's got some dimension to it, some knots, trees have knots. Just go with it. Anyway, we'll come on down somewhere right about there. All right, now we need to do something similar on the other side. So let's just let's give it a little bit of a wave in it. Okay, there's another one there. All right. Now, you know what? Well, let's do one more. Let's put one little one, and let's not make it as tall, but let's just kind of put it between the two here and put it a little bit smaller so it looks like it's further back. We'll even put a couple of bigger offshoots on it. And we'll come back later and we'll actually flush these trees out. You know, we'll make them look more like trees. All right, that's all we're going to do with this brush for the moment. So I'm just going to clean it out here in the water. Just kind of swirl it around really good here. And I'll clean these afterwards, so, you know, they won't be perfectly clean right now. But anyway, clean that off. Now we need to get some white because, again, we're moving out. So now we need to put some of those white trees that I mentioned. Now, because of the way I've got the light source so far this way, and where I've put this gray tree, we're not going to put any white on this side of the painting. But we do need to flush out over here. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to take this, this number 10 round brush. Again, I'm going to just dip it in some water, soften the bristles a little bit. I've got my white paint here. Okay, so now I'm going to come here next to this gray one, and I'm just going to kind of drop in a white tree and just kind of go all the way down with it like that. Okay, and you know, there's several on this side, so we need to go ahead and kind of flush it out here. You know, and maybe we're going to just draw one right across here. Just come right across here with the brush, and that's maybe a big branch or a tree that's leaning that's off the side of the painting. Okay. All right. Now let's drop one more in here, and maybe it's not as tall, so we're just going to kind of flush it there and give it some depth here. And then just bring this one down. This one's going to be a little bit bigger tree, which is fine. And it's just going to kind of disappear into some of this foliage. Again, that's what doing that with the paper towel does, is it creates an illusion that there's foliage in here. You know, maybe it's smaller trees, maybe it's bushes, maybe it's whatever it might be, but that's what all this is. And the light is coming through that. All right. Now, let's put one more. And let's do this one kind of a crisscross, okay? So it's right here. It's going to start here. And again, let's kind of make it not as tall as the rest of these in the painting. And it's going to kind of meander, cross in front or behind, whichever it is, and kind of go off the painting right there. Okay, and we'll kind of put maybe some more limbs or whatever there. All right, so this is the makings of our forest. This is the initial part of the forest, okay? All right, now let's clean this brush. All right, now that we've done that, now we need to address what this is down here, okay? What I like to do is, this is where the fan brush comes in, okay? Now, I like to think that all this here is bushes, meadowy bushes, however you want to consider it. The fan brush, a technique that I've seen other people do, so I'm not taking credit for it. But this fan brush can give the illusion of bushes, bush tops. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to take this white and this gray, and we're going to mix up, because this down here, again, with the illusion that we're seeing here, light is kind of hitting the tops of these bushes, okay? We're not going to define any real bush. We're not going to make it super detailed, we're going to just take some of this black, taking it out of this cup here, adding it to my palette. Matter of fact, I'm just going to pour some out, if it'll pour out. Yep, there we go. All right. All right. Black in the gray, my palette knife, I'm going to just cut some of this white over and mix this here. And I'm trying to get a consistency that I want, okay? And looks like I'm just going to mix all of it. I was hoping to save some of it for later, but anyway, so we're just, again, I'm just mixing it here to get the consistency I want. And you'll see what we're going to do here, okay? All right, now, taking this brush, you're just going to drag it in the paint, flip it over, drag it in the paint, okay? You're just kind of putting on the tip there. Now, what we're going to do is, from an upward motion, we're just going to kind of dap it, okay? And this then, and now I want a path coming through here, okay? So what that means is I need to leave some space, and I need to just kind of figure out where my path is going. We're going to just let her go right through there, okay? All right, again, all this is doing is we're just creating an illusion that there's hedge, bushes, whatever you want to call it here, okay? And you be the determining factor where they go, how they look. You know, maybe there's some big ones that go off the side here. So let's just do that. You know, let's kind of cover this there like that, okay? And anyway, what we're doing here, again, is this is just defining the bushes in this forest. Okay, we're not doing a complete coverage. We don't want complete coverage on this. We want some of that dark space shining through. Okay? And again, what this is doing is it's giving the illusion that there's bushes on either side of these paths. Now, if you look here, some of these trees are kind of look like they're floating. We're going to go back in there, and we want to cover those spots up. We want we want to give the illusion that these bushes, the trees, just kind of sink down into them. Okay? All right. So now we might even want to do this. Okay? Want to take a little bit of white, a little bit of this black, okay? And let's lighten this up some. That's a little bit lighter than what's on there. And if we come and put this kind of right in here on the edges, what this is doing by doing this is giving the illusion again, and let's kind of do this right on back in there, okay, to give the illusion. Again, now, what this is giving the illusion is that this light, where it's brightest, is shining more on these parts of the bushes. Not these parts, but these parts. All right, let's clean this brush. We're kind of done with it. And I've got another one of these paintings, a smaller one, that I'll show you at the end. You know, you'll get to see this one finished, and then I'll show you another one at the end of this to kind of give you an idea of what a different one looks like. Same principle, painted the same way. All right, now what we're going to use is we're going to use this small brush that I had earlier. All right, what we're going to do with this brush is we've just got some tree trunks here. It's what we basically have. What we want to do is give these trees limbs, and believable limbs. So what you do you know, wet, need moistening, wetting my brush. All right. I'm going to take this black paint to start with to do the big ones in the center. So we're going to moisten this brush a little bit because we want this paint a little bit thinner. That's the key, because if it's thinner, it's easier to control with just a light touch. And just kind of figure where you think limbs are. I mean, and how they go. So we're just going to kind of drop one in there. Just kind of come in like that. Limb that comes right down like this. And put some forks in it. And again, you know, these are trees living in the forest. They've got limbs, they've got craggy limbs. You know, maybe there's not any leaves on these smaller limbs that are closer to the bottom because it can't get the light, you know, from up top. So just like you've seen in other forests, the bottom limbs die, the top ones, you know, they're the ones where all the leaves are. Maybe just, you know, just some pieces of remnant limbs. I mean, we don't want, down here on the bottom, you know, it may not be full limbs. It may just be partial limbs. But I tell you what we also can do. We can come in here and drop a small tree. You know, it kind of disappears into the background. But maybe this tree is just a small one that lives right in here. So we're just going to kind of drop some small limbs in on him. Like this here. And you know, kind of leave him there. Now, if you want to really, you can come in here and just kind of give kind of some very light, multiple looking limbs, just to kind of flush out the top a little bit, like so. All right, let's finish up these kind of bigger ones here. And we want limbs, you know, we want to see visible limbs going up towards the top. Again, this is all however you want to, however you interpret your forest, however you interpret how many limbs should be on one. The black, you don't really see that much until you're right up on the painting, you know, so you just kind of want to drop them in where you see them, where you think they ought to be. Then, what we're going to do, again, we're going to get some white, put that on the palette, and mix up our white and our black because we need some gray. Try to match as best you can. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. Match as best you can with these, the gray that you already have here. All right, and then watch. We're just going to kind of put these gray limbs, just kind of drop them in. Let's get a little bit, let's thin the paint a little bit. And then, because again, it's easier to control, and you're not trying to get crazy and wild. You know, we're just wanting these limbs so that we can see what they look like. And basically give some fleshing out to these trees. And you know, you're going to see it, but you're not going to see it. Your eye is not necessarily going to focus on individual limbs, or that's not the intention. Your eye is supposed to focus on the whole painting and watch how it all blends together and all creates this scene in this forest. Okay, we need to put some gray on this side. We got that little bit of a fork there, so we need to put some limbs out on it. And again, we're just dropping in limbs. That's all we're doing, is putting them here and there, just again to give an illusion of structure and forest and whatnot. You know, and like I did with this black tree here, maybe we've got a gray one that just kind of is right there, that just is barely old enough that you can see him in the background. Okay, all right, that's kind of the gray done. Okay, let's clean the brush. This is where you're really going to see the limbs. And we're going to need, you know, again, we're going to take and thin this up just a little bit because we want the white runny. I say runny, thin. We want it thin enough that when we start putting it on, okay? All right, so now we're just going to drop a little limb there. You know, maybe do that. Put a couple up here like this. Okay, then we're going to drop some here, here, there, here, there. And, you know, some of these don't look like they're attached to trees. That's actually fine, because that can just be limbs floating from the back, you know, in some of those other thicker trees that we've given the illusion that they're back there. You know, don't go wild with your limbs. When you think it's enough, it's enough. You know, if you think you've got enough limbs, stop. Do it. That's it. That's all you need. This is yours. You do it. You know, we're not copying anybody. We're not trying to be better than anybody. I'm just throwing some limbs in here, showing you how to do it, the technique, I guess. How about one more right there? Maybe one last one right there. Let's put that right there just to give that. I'm just basically fixing this this trunk here just a little bit more, giving it a little bit more definition. Same with that one. All right. All right, so there's our tree limbs and everything. But we're almost done. We've got one more step. Okay? Here's the last thing I do with these paintings. And then I'm going to get one and show you, and of course you can see how this one's turned out. All right, we're going to need black and white again. We're going to mix up a lighter gray than we've got going on. Okay, you know, you can look at it, you can tell when it's a lighter gray. I think something about like that is probably going to do it. Okay. All right. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this brush here, which is the 19 millimeter 3/4 inch brush that I got out earlier. We're going to soften the bristles. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take and put our path in. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take this lighter color. We're going to start at the back, and you're going to use this motion, okay? Instead of up or down or side to side, we're just going to do a quick kind of stroke motion back and forth, and you'll see what that yields in just a second. I'm going to kind of kneel down here so I can put it in, but here's how this works. And you kind of have to figure where you're going to start. I'm going to start mine right there. Okay? And we're just going to kind of scrub him in our path. And of course you want it smaller as it goes into the background there. Okay, now there's our path. That's our path that comes through the woods. Okay, now what you may want to do when this part dries really good, and this is up to you, and also I would like to add, you want to kind of put the lightest part of your path back here and just kind of let the paint fade as you come forward. What that does, again, is it gives you the illusion that this part of the path, which is back here where our light source is the brightest. Okay? And then it gets, darker as you come into this forest. All right. That's basically our painting done. That's how fast it is. That's how quick it is. I'm looking on the camera here. I've done this painting in 36 minutes. And that's explaining it as I went. That's not just painting it. That's how quick you can do one of these. I'm going to step off camera just a second here and grab another one. This is a smaller one that I've done in the past. Okay, this can give you some more detail here. Again, it's the same type. We've got our darker trees, okay? We started here with our light source with the paper towel, and then spread out, and it gives you the illusion, see, of foliage. Then you've got your gray trees and your white trees as you move out. Then you've got your bushes here. And I spent more time on this, I smoothed it out and everything. This is kind of a rough draft, but this painting is done. I mean, to me, it's done. But this is that style painting. Okay, I'm going to pull this one forward a little bit so that everybody can see how it's turned out here. You still see, you got some stuff drying up here, but this is how easy it is to do one of these. And like I say, that's a finished painting. So thank you for allowing me to do this. Thank you for coming into my sanctuary here to show you how to paint one of these. I don't know if we'll do any more of these or if whatnot, but hope everyone stays safe during this time, and we'll see you later.